I can give you the best career advice. Big tech wants us addicted. They want us to outsource all of our thinking and pay $20 a month for it. I think about AI users as two types: AI drivers and AI passengers. Most of us are at risk of being a passenger, which is just kind of outsourcing our thinking, and I think that's a trap. I want you to be a driver. I want you to take the work from AI and make it better, make it human. Billions of people will lose their minds to ChatGPT. These technologies are not here to help us. So we have to be aware of that, because they did it in social media and we weren't really paying attention. AI is truth serum for organizations. AI is going to reveal how organizations are messed up. AI natives have an advantage. Here's why. AI is an operating system for their lives. But the biggest lesson I have is commit and don't look back. Burn the bridge that you just crossed so you can't go back. Well, let's talk about why change is fast and transformation is slow. And you have AI technologies that are just racing ahead of humans. And then we've got humans who are anxious. It's a terrible cocktail. None of us like that much change that quickly in our lives.
The secret to navigating change is realize that it's never as good as bad as you think. So embrace the change, go in that direction, it'll be okay.
Find growth. Because even if you're mediocre or average like me, if you can find growth, growth takes care of it.
I'm not going to tell you what I've told ChatGPT recently, but what I will say is use temporary chat. It's handy.
Hi, I'm Brandon Carson, and this is Leaders in Learning, a series about the people reshaping leadership in a fast-changing world. And no one represents that better than Greg Shove, the CEO at Section, a serial tech entrepreneur and one of the most compelling voices on AI. With 6 companies under his belt and decades of experience at the forefront of business transformation, Greg brings hard-won lessons in a refreshingly candid perspective on resilience, longevity, and leading across generations. If you've ever wondered how to stay relevant, curious, and fearless in a fast-changing world, this episode's for you. Welcome, Greg. It's good to have you here.
Great to be here.
Our theme this season is navigating transformation. You're no stranger to change. You've led 6 companies. You've navigated exits. You've navigated reinvention. What's one mistake that taught you the most, and how has it shaped the way you lead today?
Some of my transformations have been to failure as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, you get over this length of time and that many at-bats, you get a mixed record, which is one way you learn. But the biggest lesson I have is commit and don't look back. Burn the bridge that you just crossed so you can't go back in any transformation.
What has been some of the impact on your life with that, especially the learning to lose part?
Just don't take it too seriously. It's never as bad or is never as good as you think it is. Right now we're in a good moment in terms of my companies.
Yeah.
It's not going to stay good, that long, right? Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to get hard. And you just got to roll with it and just realize that this is not life or death. I'm not looking for the cure for cancer. Other people are doing that.
Your career has been a series of bold pivots, though. But you pivoted Section really quickly when it came to AI. And when you're at that crossroads, what drives you on those pivots?
You're trying to find enough data that it's actually overwhelmingly clear to pivot, but not everyone sees it. So there's these moments where there's plenty of data.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a good example: Waymo. If you take, I took Waymo here.
Yeah.
And if you get in a Waymo and take a few rides, that's enough evidence to realize this is a great experience. But not many people yet have taken Waymos, right? So you're looking for these moments where it's clear to you, but not to necessarily everyone else. And then you just gotta believe.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just jump.
Is that because you're needing to be first to market, second to market? Is that the driver?
Yeah, sort of. I'm usually just dissatisfied with where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I don't like the position I'm in.
Yeah.
And if something comes along where I think I can change my position within 12 months, that's what I'm looking for. And so when I played with ChatGPT Plus a lot, which was for me February the 1st, 2023, so over 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
for me that was a moment that was like, oh shit.
Yeah. This is an inflection point.
Yeah, this is crazy
Yeah.
technology in terms of its capabilities. And I've just thought about it for myself personally. I was going to pivot. Whether I could pivot the company or not,
Yeah.
I decided in that moment that I was going to be a power user of AI. I'm 63. I type with two fingers, right?
Yeah.
And I intend to keep working here in Silicon Valley, which is the most ageist place in the world. As you
Yeah.
know, if you're not 28 in a hoodie, you're an idiot.
Right.
And I just thought that the way for me to keep working into my 70s was to be AI powered.
Yeah.
Personally.
You've had enough experience where you've seen some inflection points, like the internet, right? The cloud, right? When we all started moving our business data to the cloud, you looked around the corners
Yeah,
to
you look
kind of
ar-
see what's coming.
Yeah, I don't know if you look around the corner with that level of intention. You read a lot, you listen a lot, you try new products and services. I just sort of intensely curious about anything that's tech oriented. And
Yeah.
not so much heavy tech, like not
Yeah.
infrastructure tech or cloud tech. I didn't really see cloud. I mean, I took advantage of it. I saw
Yeah.
mobile though,
Yeah.
because the first time I played with a native mobile app.
Yeah.
Now they're all native mobile apps. So back in the day, the first native mobile app, it was magic.
Yeah.
You could touch and swipe and kind of really interact with the phone in a different way. So as soon as you see that, for me, that's like, okay, that's that's an input to what's changing,
Yeah.
and can I be just slightly ahead of it?
Yeah.
I'm not looking for I don't want to, I do, but I'm not looking for $10 billion exits. They're accidents.
Mm-hmm.
They're luck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for significant exits. And I don't have to be first and be so contrarian.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be right and execute well enough.
You know,
So
and-
you look around the corner
yeah.
and then you commit.
We've over the last 20, 25 years, we've seen lots of shifts when it comes to quote learning. I remember moving just to the internet from our corporate learning construct. Is this one of those moments where it's like bigger than just a tech change? It's more a wholesale transformation?
Yeah, I think it is in part because we have to admit that learning online has largely failed.
Yeah.
Now, I know the host of this podcast might want to cut that out now that I say it that way. So let's say it a little bit differently.
Well, it's how it's been designed and developed in a lot of ways.
Sure. So let's admit that current solutions don't always deliver what we want them to do.
Yeah.
Which is high levels of engagement and completion and actually skill acquisition and then application of those skills.
Yeah. In that sort of personalization, if you will.
That's what's
in that-
lacking.
Yeah.
Right. Learning today is basically one size fits all.
Yeah.
And I think AI learning is not. AI learning will be fully
One size fits one.
personalized.
Yeah.
It's going to take students' breath away when they experience AI powered learning for the first couple times, because the learning immediately adapts to who the student is.
Yeah.
Their location, their job, the language they speak, the company they work for. In terms of corporate learning, everything now can be customized by the AI before it's served up to the student.
Yeah.
That's a magical experience.
Yeah. And then becomes their augmentation throughout their performance
That's
as a
right.
company.
I think it becomes a coach. I think we're going to
Yeah.
merge upskilling, corporate learning or upskilling will merge essentially with AI coaching to be one experience,
Yeah.
which is when I need help, I can turn to my AI coach or mentor or tutor and get that help sort of real time and in a personalized way.
Yeah. Coaching is the big unlock. And the barrier has been scalability
That's
of
right.
that.
It's too expensive to
expensive.
offer one-on-one coaching, right?
Yeah.
We know that one-on-one tutors work.
Yeah.
Always have. We've known that for 40 years, as you know, but we can't afford to scale
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
100%.
we can now.
So you've described your leadership style as high-low. How do you decide when to zoom in and zoom out?
All right. So when I describe high, think about it as high altitude.
High altitude.
So 10 to 20,000 feet. I want people to be able to think about things that are 6 to 18 months away, the implications of their decisions and their ideas. And then I want low, meaning roll up your sleeves and get something done. And write the blog post or write the ticket in Jira for the engineer to read and then develop the feature. And when to know between the two, I think it's just common sense.
Yeah.
Like pay attention. When does the business need low work? When do you just need to get shit done?
Yeah.
And when is it time to pause and think about what's going to happen a year from now? What I'm looking for is people that move between those two altitudes within the same hour.
Yeah.
Certainly within the same day.
You've said that change is fast, but transformation is slow. That feels especially true right now. What's the biggest challenge leaders face in achieving true AI transformation, not just transition?
Well, let's talk about why change is fast and transformation slow in this moment. So it's fast because the technologies are doubling in capabilities every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So we have AI technologies that are just racing ahead of humans. And then we've got humans who are anxious.
Yeah.
It's a terrible cocktail.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's going on. So, what CEOs need to do, first of all, leaders need to do, is understand the cocktail, which today they don't. They
Yeah.
don't appreciate the level of anxiety that is in the workforce.
Yes.
About the impact of these technologies on people's jobs. Not necessarily taking their job. There's a lot of that, but just changing their job. None of us like that much change that quickly in our lives.
Yeah.
And these technologies are going to fundamentally change how knowledge workers work, and it will replace a lot of knowledge workers.
Yeah.
And I think we need to acknowledge that and be transparent and open about that as leaders with our teams. And we're not, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Listen, most corporate CEOs are psychopaths.
Yeah.
They have to be, because they have to say on Monday everything's fine, and on Tuesday they have to lay off 10% of the workforce.
Right.
I mean, that's what large company CEOs do. So, the reality here is that we're not saying what we probably need to say,
Yeah.
which I think makes things worse.
There are some business leaders and CEOs now saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah,
We
they're
heard-
getting frustrated.
Yeah,
And
we're hearing that.
I think what's happening. I think what's happening is some of them are using these technologies themselves.
Mhm.
A lot of CEOs, most aren't, but some CEOs are actually using these technologies themselves and realizing how powerful they are,
Yeah.
and how much more productivity they're getting themselves. Like,
Yeah.
for example, myself, I use AI all the time, at least every hour. It makes me more productive, and so my point of view as CEO is I want everybody using these tools to be as productive as possible. Yeah, so I think CEOs are getting impatient, a few, and they're starting to kind of lay out the rules of the road,
Mhm.
using a combination of carrots and sticks to get people to adopt AI. It's going to be tough, though, I think, unless we really acknowledge that we have to support the change.
Yeah.
It's not about training. Training's the easy part. Upskilling is the easy part. How do you get the change to happen? How do you get past that tipping point of 25 or 30% of the organization using the new technology?
Yeah. Do you think what's at play here is old organizational structures inside of companies being a barrier to the transformation? Because it's not just ways of working, it's how organizations are, how they organize themselves and how they structure the work.
I think that's a big part of it. Listen, I think AI is truth serum
Mm-hmm.
for organizations. I think AI is going to reveal how organizations are messed up.
Yeah.
Poor culture, poor growth mindset, poor processes,
Disparate data sources.
disparate data sources, lack of clarity around what processes matter, what outputs really are valuable. So we see a lot of weaker companies jumping to AI, thinking they can slap AI onto their
Yeah.
existing organization. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to really suffer. I think the reality is the best run companies are going to get supercharged with AI.
Yeah.
Because they know what's important. They are well managed. They have good management practices. They have good data practices. They have good clarity around the outcomes they're driving for. They want to make all of those better with AI. So I think we'll see our best run corporations get that much further ahead with AI.
Do you think it's important for companies or to determine what their responsibility is in the skilling effort necessary on the workforce so that they can meet these productivity and efficiency demands and become more fluent with AI? And what's the risk if they don't skill their workforce?
Well, part A is easy in my mind. Every CEO is responsible for every employee in terms of upskilling them.
Mm-hmm.
For one of two reasons: make them more effective in the organization, or make them more valuable outside the organization if their job is impacted. That's the responsibility of every L&D leader and every CEO that funds L&D or should be funding L&D.
Mm-hmm.
And the risk of not moving in this transformation is you will eventually get caught by one of two disruptors: an AI native disruptor,
Mm-hmm.
I call them super companies, or an incumbent, one of your competitors, that makes the transformation faster and more ambitiously. I think incumbents have a natural advantage. They're incumbents.
Yeah.
They have revenue, they have customers, they have brands, they have smart employees. They can wait for a while.
Yeah.
But I think what we're going to see in almost every sector of the economy is an AI native disruptor and at least a couple incumbents who make the transformation on a relatively rapid timeline, and they become they have the chance to win the category. And incumbents that don't transform, I think it gets more painful fast.
Yeah. Are there examples from the past that make sense in this, transformation and why it's kind of rare? I just think back to search, when search became kind of what it became, and then the advertising component was overlaid onto that and really changed everything. Can you take those old models and apply them, or is this completely new frontier?
I think you can take the old models as inspiration to what
Yeah.
we should do now. If you look at those amazing generational companies like Google, for example, and a pay-per-click business model, it
Yeah.
was inherently more customer friendly. So the way I think about AI today, if I'm an incumbent, is how if I applied an AI product strategy or an AI business model strategy, could I be dramatically more customer friendly? Could I
Yeah.
make the value proposition to the customer so good that they could not resist? That's what Google did with advertising.
Yeah.
They charge you for the click, not for the impression.
Yeah.
It's so much better for customers. Netflix charges you one monthly fee and you get all that content.
Yeah.
Like you can't watch all of it
Yeah.
in any given day, yet you get it for 10 to 20 bucks a month. So it's the business model innovation in my mind, or so the AI powered disruption to business models
Yeah.
that creates the biggest risk for incumbents and the biggest opportunity for
To
startups.
follow on that, when it comes to product innovation or just innovation alone, product innovation isn't enough. I hear you saying there's customer experience driving a lot of what needs to happen with innovation. And companies are needing to rethink their business models. What is an AI native business model? Are you seeing anything yet that strikes you as something so different that this is indicative of our AI first world coming?
Yeah, I think we're going to see business models like pay for consumption of AI, essentially paying for the inference cost of the AI, paying for the output that AI generates.
Mm-hmm.
So we all think about lawyers as charging by the hour. Obviously, the vast majority of them do that. Why not charge by contract completed or contract reviewed? When AI is doing 80% of the review and then the human only does 20% of the review,
Mm-hmm.
the cost of contract review could go from 3 hours of work to about 40 minutes of human work, and therefore the cost is going to drop by 90%. As a client, I want that business model.
Yeah.
So
Because it brings more in, it scales.
yeah, well, it's better for me. We need to think about it as when intelligence is free, how is the product or service different, and how would you charge for it in a way that benefits the customer?
If you go back to even a few years ago, large language models were nascent. I mean, they weren't really that smart, let's be honest. And just in the last 5 years, they're almost at PhD research level. Are we at a point where we're going to see this kind of change escalated, or do you think there's going to be periods of time where, wait a minute, we've got to absorb all of this and we've got to factor in how this affects customers' lives, employees' lives before we keep this pace up?
I'd say the technology pace is going to continue at its current rate, but in some ways we're already slowing down the past few months because we're not getting more reliability out of these technologies in the real world. We're getting higher and higher benchmark scores from AI companies against these more academic benchmarks. So that's an important indicator of performance, of sort of how intelligent these systems are. But when you put them into the real world, they're not really working much differently than they did sort of last year, in that they're still going to fail 10% of the time. That's too much for companies. That's too much for business.
Yeah.
For students, that's probably fine because students fail a lot more than 10% of the time.
Yeah.
So every kid should be cheating with AI at this point. It's going to be better than what they could do on their own. But when you think about putting AI into companies and getting sort of reliable work done every time, it's hard. It requires a lot of human oversight.
Yeah.
That's why agents have been oversold.
Yeah.
I mean, big tech is selling agents because they want to bypass the humans and get the output done by just the technology. But agents aren't ready for prime time because they can't reliably every time deliver the output that we need. So I think in some ways we are slowing down. It's probably good for humanity
Yeah.
that we're in the way of this technology in some respects.
Yeah.
Because it is coming at an alarming rate. but it's not landing in every case inside the company, meaning these technologies aren't reliable yet. And again, that will buy us some time. This is
Yeah.
going to be a very hard and fast transition as it is. If we can buy ourselves a few more years
Yeah.
as an economy, as a society, we need those years.
Yeah. Companies have always been a little bit behind what consumers have access to. Is this one of those moments where companies need to simultaneously be bringing this to their enterprises almost at the same time we're adopting it?
Organizations are always slower. And I don't think they're going to change in this moment. I don't think they need to necessarily.
Yeah.
I think that startups are behaving like consumers. And
Yeah.
this has been
Yeah.
a consumer revolution. Let's be
Yeah.
clear, right? 1 billion ChatGPT users sometime this year.
Yeah.
They'll pass 1 billion active users around the world. That's an incredible number,
Yeah.
up from tens of millions just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's been driven by consumers, side hustlers, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, really small teams who love these technologies.
Yeah.
Companies will move slower, and that's okay. The only reason for a company to move faster, in my opinion, is you're facing a direct AI native competitor, or you're in the crosshairs of AI, and AI is literally going to put you out of business. AI is starting to put companies out of business, like significant companies out of
Yeah.
business. And so that's going to continue. And in that case, you have an existential risk.
Yeah.
If you're a translation business,
Yeah.
it's already too late, right?
Yeah.
If you're a learning business,
Yeah.
you need to become an AI-powered learning business, and you don't have a lot of time to think about this. You need
Yeah.
to get going. Other companies can be more measured, and they need to be more measured. They've got more security risk. They've got more cultural change and change management challenges as they get bigger in terms of employee size and so on.
Yeah.
So listen, it's going to take a while. That's okay.
Mhm.
But I would get on with it.
Yeah.
I'd get started.
Is the next 5 years, from a CEO perspective, is it about productivity and efficiency? And as they integrate AI, is that what their
I
primary
think the next couple of 3 years, they're going to focus on, let's make the organization more efficient. Let's pay for the AI
Yeah.
by shrinking our payroll.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what's going to happen. The other side of that coin is, how do you grow with AI?
Yeah.
So once we've learned how to cut with AI, and I think we need to learn how to create with AI. And how do we create new products and services? How do we create new businesses? How do we enter new markets where we can actually grow and really use AI as an engine of prosperity, not just of efficiency? It typically comes later. CFOs want the easy payback.
Yeah.
And the higher certainty payback. That's always with cost cutting.
Yeah.
So they'll do that first.
You're obviously a fan of AI, but you've also warned about cognitive resilience. It could erode our cognitive resilience. How do we prevent cognitive outsourcing so we don't lose the ability to think ourselves?
Let's start with understanding the motivations here, which is just kind of like lay the groundwork here. Big tech wants us addicted.
Mm-hmm.
They want us to lose our
They're
minds.
genius at that.
They're genius at
Yeah,
that, right?
right.
They want us to lose our minds. They want us to outsource all of our thinking and pay $20 a month for it. And OpenAI has a chance, in my opinion, of being the most valuable company in the history of capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
because billions of people will do that.
Mm-hmm.
They will lose their minds to ChatGPT. So that's the context here. These technologies are not here to help us. People will use these technologies to do amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
I hope find the cure for cancer
Yeah.
and solve climate change and all those other problems that are really challenging us as humanity. But that's not the motivations of big tech.
Yeah.
Big tech's motivations are get us addicted. They can then build massive, influential, powerful, and profitable businesses.
Yeah.
So we have to be aware of that, first of all, because they did it in social media.
Yeah.
And we weren't really paying attention. And even in the face of overwhelming data that showed that social media was harming us, these companies continued.
It didn't regulate. There was no regulation of it.
Yeah, and even presented with the data, the leadership of those companies did not change their strategy. And these companies, big tech, realize that the fastest way to our wallet is to remove friction.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are removing the friction to thinking. And it's going to be really seductive for us
Mm-hmm.
to outsource our thinking to AI and cut and paste into our work, our documents, our decks, our
Yeah.
spreadsheets,
Yeah.
everything else we do. And I think that's a real risk. I think that's the
Yeah.
fastest way to be less relevant, and to contribute less at work. So we have to resist the temptation. I think
Yeah.
about AI users as two types: AI drivers and AI passengers. AI passengers, I think,
Mhm.
quite frankly, most of us are at risk of being a passenger, which is just kind of outsourcing our thinking, taking the path of least resistance, and kind of, mailing it in or emailing it in. And frankly, most of our bosses won't notice.
Yeah.
A lot of us do mediocre work, and AI is going to allow us to do mediocre work faster.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a trap, right? Some of us will be AI drivers. I define drivers as those who pick their AIs, manage their AIs, vet the output of their AIs, and then improve the work after AI
Mhm.
has helped you, right? If we're just doing what the AI is going to kind of let us do,
Yeah.
it's going to be great in the short term. You're going to get work-life balance.
Yeah.
You're going to walk the dog and take an extra yoga class, but it's not going to end well. I want you to be a driver. I
Yeah.
want you to take the work from AI and make it better, make it human,
Yeah.
inject your experience, your insight, your genius, your creativity. We need to know how to prompt. We need to,
Yeah.
which really means we need to know how to have good conversations and manage people.
Yep.
Managing your AI is no different than managing people. So if
Yeah.
you struggle with managing your AI, that probably means you're a shitty manager.
Yeah.
Because it's really the same skills, which is, to prompt, to coach, to coax,
Yeah.
occasionally to prod. If you do that with your AI, you're going to have a much better experience with your AI.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we do with people. So, this idea of prompt engineering, all these special skills we need to use AI, it's all just jargon. All you need to do is know how to have a good
Yeah.
conversation and how to kind of coach and coax your AI.
So, how do we not outsource to AI skills that we don't have, but we find that that's necessary in our jobs?
I think it's dangerous and also pretty liberating. What I love about AI is it can allow people to be who they can't be professionally
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yet in terms of skills. So it can take someone and make them a better data analyst
Yeah.
or, of course, a better programmer.
But there's a positive to
I
this
say,
because you can go back and forth with
absolutely.
your AI
Right.
and it's actually teaching you.
The flip side of the coin is if you're asking AI to do things that you don't know how to do at all, you can't vet the
You
AI.
can't vet it.
So in some respects, I like to use AI as a thought partner when I know a little bit about what I need help about.
Yeah.
Because then I can vet what AI is telling me. When I'm clueless about what I'm thinking about, I don't have any experience, and I use AI as a thought partner, it can be a little dangerous because
Yeah.
AI can just free range it, hallucinate it, and I
Right.
won't know
And you won't know.
at all,
Yeah.
right? So we need to be careful there.
So you've called marketing and engineering the canaries in the coal mine for AI's impact on knowledge work. What functions are next?
Every function.
Every function.
Yeah, I mean, language intensive next. So after marketing, it's going to be sales. Sales will imply that what they do is special because it does involve human interaction, and AI can't do that yet. So, but big parts of sales, large parts of the sales process are very language intensive and document intensive and data intensive. So that's next. After engineering, obviously data science is right around the corner. These AIs are getting better with large data sets and more reliable and accurate. And then eventually, every function in the organization. HR is probably soon after,
Yeah.
if not, closer than you think.
Who in the organization is responsible for preserving the humanity of work or looking out for what remains human and what goes to AI?
I think in capitalism, there's no requirement for humanity. So ultimately, some of the most profitable companies in the world could be ones that have the least amount of humans. I hear you.
Yeah.
I care deeply about humanity.
Yeah.
And including those close to me, family,
Yeah.
kids, my company, my employees. But that's not as a CEO, that's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
My responsibility is to serve customers, to generate shareholder returns, and take care of my employees when I can.
Yeah.
But when I think about Section, I think about it being an AI company partnering with some humans to deliver shareholder returns. I don't think AI deserves a spot on the org chart. I'm not saying that.
Mm.
But when I think about preserving humanity, I think that we should break this down into smaller problems first.
Mm-hmm.
When you try to answer that question, who has the role of preserving humanity inside of an organization? People's heads explode. Like, it's just too hard a question.
Yeah.
We can't even get the transformation to happen.
Yeah.
So let's focus first on the upskilling, the change management, the transformation, the reinvention of business models, the things we're going to need to do to stay competitive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there won't be an organization left
Right.
about which you're going to worry about the humanity. The company will fail.
Yeah.
And I think we have to make sure that doesn't happen first. We should try to do that in the most humane way possible. I think about that as for the people that stay, make sure the jobs are meaningful and as long lasting as possible. And for those that their jobs change or they leave the organization, make them ready to thrive in the age of AI.
Who thrives in the AI environment? Is it AI natives? Do they have an edge, or is it more a mindset versus age?
Let's first agree that the question is based on, does AI fulfill its potential to augment us?
Mm-hmm.
If it does, AI natives have an advantage. Here's why. They don't think about should they use AI. Every task that they attempt first with AI. Sam Altman has this great quote. He says that people in their 20s, AI is an operating system for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've noticed with my 24-year-old son.
Yep.
And in fact, someone we just hired at Section who came out of Columbia undergrad. So he's probably 23 years old. Every task we give him, he starts with AI. For the rest of us, we have to think. We have that cognitive delay about should I use AI or not? Is this the task that's right for AI? So if AI truly does augment us, if it really is boring 30 points of IQ every day, then we should be using it all the time. And any hesitation or delay will slow us down. So yeah, I think natives get an advantage. I think the way we should think about this is it's not a Google replacement.
Is it fundamentally rewiring how we come about the work from an AI native perspective versus a non-AI native perspective?
Yeah, I think an AI native will think about it as I've got a full-time assistant, cognitive assistant by my side. And what I do and what that assistant does will pass work back and forth all the time. The rest of us don't have that relationship with our computer. Most of us are used to working with software where we get some sort of productivity lift, sometimes a lot, sometimes a little, by inputting something into the software, getting something back from the software. This is not software. This is a kind of crazy technology that's a co-intelligence. We have to check its work for sure, but it makes us smarter real time if we remember to use it.
So you talked a little bit about AI natives and drivers versus passengers. And as we're moved forward, how do we make sure that the critical parts of being human are what we preserve versus just becoming so addicted to AI that we outsource almost everything to it?
Sure, let's take a step back first though. Let's talk about our brain. 70,000 years old, 3-pound mass, hasn't changed much.
Mm-hmm.
We've always been good at cognitively offloading since the beginning of time, right? Humans used to be able to remember the Bible or the Quran and be able to recite it from memory. Not every human, but humans could be trained to recite the Bible from memory or Homer's Iliad from memory, 70,000 lines of text. And once we had books, we then were able to repurpose that part of our brain to other activities. So we're really good at cognitively offloading, and we need to be. Because the amount of information, data, content coming at us is overwhelming us. So the smartphone came along at a perfect time and allowed us to cognitively offload to the smartphone. GPS is the obvious example. That part of our brain, spatial sort of understanding, has actually atrophied in the human brain because we now rely on GPS. So the same thing is going to happen with AI, meaning we are going to want to cognitively offload. It'll be a temptation we can't resist. It gets worse than that, though, because when we are able to reduce friction, we get a dopamine hit. When we complete a task quickly, it's like kind of checking off something on our to-do list or cleaning our email out. Low-value tasks, the reason we keep doing them and avoid the deep work is our brain loves it. Our body loves it.
Mm-hmm.
We get a dopamine hit. We never get the serotonin from struggle. This is why social media was so addictive with the consequences that we're now realizing it has. We just dopamined ourselves into a stupor and weren't able to appreciate and enjoy the high, the serotonin high of struggle and solving something for ourselves, working through a problem. in the case of social media, that'd be going out to a bar and actually trying
Yeah.
to meet someone. That's
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
versus swiping.
Yeah.
The same risks we have with thinking. So I want us to outsource to AI. I want us to cognitively offload. I want us to borrow the 30 points of IQ. It'll help us.
Yeah.
But we have to watch out for just becoming addicted to it.
Yeah.
Like getting those quick hits of dopamine and not realizing it's lulling us into stopping using our brain. Critical thinking will atrophy. So we need to do some things. We need to set up a way to work with AI that introduces the task to the AI by the human, by us, and completes the task by us. The human has to complete the task. So let's use AI in the middle,
Yeah.
if you will, right? Let's create AI-free hours or AI-free days with our kids. We need to teach them how to use AI. We should not accuse them of cheating when they use AI. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's not cheating. This is a technology. It's been let loose. We didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
Big tech invented it. Big tech has decided that it's going to be good for us. I hope they're right.
Yeah.
We'll know a lot more in 10 years, but it's here. So I don't think our kids are cheating necessarily. We need to show them how to use it. And that will include AI-free days or AI-free projects. And teachers and professors all over this country should be rebuilding their curriculums, rebuilding their syllabi, rebuilding their lesson plans to accommodate the fact that kids will be using AI, if not in the classroom, certainly all the time at home. And
Yeah.
you're just putting your head in the sand if you think that no one's going to be using AI to get these tasks done or get this homework done.
Because it could impact even how people make or build relationships with each other.
It will.
You'll have a relationship with your AI, with your co-intelligence, your partner.
Your partner, your coach,
Yeah.
your companion. In fact,
Right.
you look at the top 3 to 5 use cases now on any sort of a list of AI use cases: companionship, thought partnership, therapy,
Mhm.
have all raced to the top of the list. This has been an explosion, and I think that the secret of AI, the not recognized use case, or the surprising use case of AI. These technologies were invented. We kind of pushed them onto humanity pretty quickly, and what we're realizing is that people need access
Mhm.
to advice. They need access to someone who can help them think through questions and challenges, right? Parenting
Without
advice and so on.
judgment
Without
and
judgment,
yeah.
right? Someone who's available all the time,
Right.
Most of us can't afford therapists.
Right.
Most of us can't afford coaches.
Right.
Most of us can't afford a second opinion on a medical question. And AI can be all of those things. This is really AI superpower.
Yeah. You mentioned addiction and dopamine. How do we make our AI be a thought partner that doesn't always tell us how great we are?
Sure. First of all, let's just start with the idea of AI as a thought partner. The number one best use case, in my opinion, for AI for all of us, especially for leaders. A lot of leaders think that they can't use AI because they don't do grunt work. Leaders think big thoughts, right? So yeah, maybe. And even if you do, use AI as a thought partner. AI knows no boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
AI crosses countries, languages, industries, functions, technologies, and centuries. AI is a great thought partner, always available, and it's basically free. So I think we should all be using AI as a thought partner. My point of view is for every medium to high stakes decision, it's irresponsible at home or at work not to have asked AI. And the one question I've asked my team for the past year is, what does AI think? Every time someone comes to me with a request for money, a project, approval, a new idea, my first question is, what does AI think? And as a leader, if you do that, you'll train your organization to go and try to borrow those 30 points of IQ that are available to them. But there's some watchouts because AI has been programmed to please.
Mm-hmm.
AI has been programmed to answer every question, which is why AI hallucinates. If it's not sure, it'll basically keep working to come up with an answer, even if it's a fabrication. And it's really been programmed to please us. And when you ask AI to tell you about yourself, you'll notice how glowing the report is from an AI. And that's just because they know that we're going to get a hit of dopamine when that happens. And we're going to become that much more in love with our AIs. And so, yeah, we have to be really mindful, especially if we're using AI as a companion, but for any use case, like thought partnership.
And even as a coach, that's not good.
That's not
for
always
you.
what you want, right?
Yeah,
We know the expression tough love.
Yeah.
And we need the tough.
Yeah.
We don't just need the love. And I think we have to as you said, program our AIs in our custom instructions, in our profile, and even in the prompt. Don't agree with me. Challenge my thinking, push my thinking. Those are the kind of things that you would say to a thought partner, a human one.
Exactly.
And that's what you want from your AI.
Exactly. So when we ask you back 5 years from now to come back on the show, what, if you think future back, what's going to be what you lead with 5 years from now when you think about what AI, the transformation that AI is bringing?
What I'll hopefully be talking about are all the new businesses, new products, and new services that we've created. We're going to make things a lot more efficient, for sure. We're going to incrementally improve a lot of products and services. But I think what we want to be talking about in 5 years are what are the new companies that have been created? What are the breakthroughs and discoveries that we had that have been really meaningful to humanity? Have we in fact found a cure for cancer or other diseases? Have we really advanced humanity? Or have we made us all more efficient so we can just work harder? By the way, we're not that happy.
Yeah.
As certainly as a country. America's an amazing place in terms of we're 17% of the world's GDP. We're only 7% of the world's population. We're an incredibly productive place. We're not a very happy place.
Yeah.
So I'd like to look back in 5 years and just not see the fact that we just worked harder.
Yeah.
More efficiently with this co-intelligence.
Fantastic. So Greg, this is a question I ask every guest on the show. What's one thing leaders need to stop doing and one thing they need to start doing to lead more effectively through this change?
First thing they need to do is stop overhyping. Too many CEOs are doing what I call performative AI. They're telling their boards they're going to be an AI native organization. They're running around at all hands meetings, waving their phone, saying, I use GPT on my phone. We should all be using GPT. Things like that. It's performative. It's distracting. It's unrealistic in terms of expectation. So stop that. Start using AI yourself. Lead from the front. Lead with authority. Lead with authenticity, which means you are using these technologies, this co-intelligence yourself. So you know personally how it does optimize you or your life at home, perhaps, your medical decisions, your travel decisions, your parenting decisions. Really get a grasp of this co-intelligence and know how it works and how it benefits each of us. And then you can get an appreciation for what has to happen inside your organization.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. It's been a great conversation having you on the show.
Thank you very much.